When our amygdala perceives a threat, it sparks one of the following 4 physiological reactions. Here we go. Fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Now, when I first read about these, I was like, oh, this is cool. I've kind of heard of a couple of them, but not so much of the others. So, to me, this was like the neuroscience version of the Beatles. 2 of them are really famous. One of them's only kind of well known, and the other one voiced Thomas the Tank Engine. Educational and hilarious. Edinburgh Festival's magazine was correct. Now, we're going to go through each of these physiological reactions one by one, starting off with fight. Well, now we all know what it feels like when we want to kick off, don't we? Yeah. Fewer than I expected in Brighton on a Friday. No, we know what this is like. I've had it before when you want to kick off, like it's an animalistic reaction. I had it the other day when I was in a pub and I was playing pool on my own because I'm a motherfucking legend. And I overheard these 2 men in the corner going, oh, she's hitting those pool balls very hard. Must be her time of the month. Public service announcement. Pool cues break a lot more easily than they used to. They really do. When I was a teenager, you could hit a misogynist like 5 or 6 times before they broke. But nowadays, you're lucky if you get 2 whacks. Although I will also tell you, top tip, darts, still very effective. But you will lose your deposit. When I first started out as a baby comedian, baby comedian, you know, I was really insecure. I wanted to win people over by, you know, wearing slogan T-shirts and sort of thing. And when I was a baby comedian, I had a director, and the director said to me, Juliet, comedy is all about what makes you angry, what makes you angry. And I said, oh no, I never get angry. Holding on to anger is like holding on to hot coals, expecting somebody else to get hurt. Do you know what makes me angry? Her past me, what a fucking idiot. I was livid my whole life, but I just been repressing it. Now I've been in therapy for a long time and I've realised that is not healthy, so I've made a list of all the things that are making me livid today, and it's pretty fucking long. Do you want to hear them, Brighton? Yeah. Amazing, here we go. Here's what's making me angry today. Men who say that time of the month. Oh my God. Yes, Cambridge. It's posh, it's privileged, it's my hometown. Fuck its repressed yet beautiful buildings. Lack of funding for the arts in recent years. I've got a theory about why this is. Rishi Sunak, I reckon he went to a comedy gig once, sat on the front row, got picked on, and that was his revenge. Fucking hell. Misogynist comments, like coming up to me and saying things like, oh, you're really beautiful with makeup on. Oh, well, you're really interesting far away. Or them saying things like, you're smarter than you look. Yeah, not clearly as smart as I'd like to be, because otherwise, how did you find me? Also things like them saying, are you headlining the gig? Who are you sleeping with? Literally everyone in the room, mate, except you. Everyone else made the cut, but you, no, soz. Horses being allowed to shit in the street when humans aren't allowed to. Public toilets, impossible to find, disgusting when you do. The reaction people have when you shit in the street. Discrimination, isn't it? Not inclusive, that's what that is. When you enter a restaurant and the waiter comes up to you and says, oh, so is it just you? What do you mean it's just me? It's all of me! Just me can just go elsewhere and justifiably spend my money there, just saying. It's very cathartic, thanks. London rental prices, £1,400 a week for basically a hallway that the landlord has stuck a bedpan and a mini fridge and a sleeping bag that's hanging on the wall. I'm not a bat. Estate agents, see London rental prices. People who point out that you have sunburn. I know, it's literally my skin. I had that a lot when I was performing in Adelaide, and that's why I much prefer performing at the Edinburgh Fringe. It's like, Adelaide's lovely, but no shade on Adelaide. But there's no shade in Adelaide! Brighton's amazing. Cost of living crisis. Did you know that penny sweets now cost £150 each? The lack of mental health funding in the UK. Yes, mate. Okay, Brighton, seriously. Now, I have another job that I do, which is I'm a writer for a mental health research charity, which means I have to write about all the amazing things the NHS is doing for mental health right now, which basically feels like writing fan fiction. It's horrible. Did you know that at the beginning of last year, there was meant to be a 10-year mental health plan that was meant to roll out across the UK, and it was meant to start last year and then roll out for a decade. And the government just threw it in the bin. Just went, no, we're not doing any of that. Fuck it. Think of how many amazing things we could have done for mental health in the next 10 years. Think of all the amazing things we've done in the last 10 years. Guys, in the last 10 years, there have been 6 Fast and the Furious movies. So what I'm trying to say is that the last 5, I can't remember how many, 5 Tory prime ministers have done less for my mental health than Vin Diesel. What else have we got? Chihuahuas! Is it a dog? Is it a rat? I do not know, but I have just stepped on it. Also, the spelling of chihuahua. Chihuahua? That isn't even a word! Body hair maintenance. Yes, it takes time, it costs money. Can I not just let it all grow free, please? Thank you. Or if I have to chop it all off, can I not make some money out of it? Like, I don't know, weaving it into, like, wigs for bald misogynists. Do you want to join in? Because I've got a crowdfunder going. Loud air conditioning. This is because up in Edinburgh, it was like, I was performing up there, this show, and it was like being heckled by a vacuum cleaner or a Dalek. And also, incapable politicians calling a general election. No, I'm glad it's happening. It's just that I have come out in an allergic reaction to it. Like I have recently had an allergic reaction, been in and out of hospital a little bit recently. It's not contagious, only the laughter is. But the doctors have a few theories. I'll tell you a bit more about them later on. One of those theories is that I'm allergic to seeing politicians with no integrity. And they said I might just get better after July the 4th. So we'll see what happens. And then another theory was that maybe it was the 34th conviction. I'm fine with 33, but 34 just over the top. I'll give you some others later on. So yes, that is all that's making me angry right now. Also, non-inclusive shows. Yes, they make me very angry. No, you're correct. You're absolutely correct, my darling. So what are we going to do next? Let's do... Yeah, we did that. Let's do flight. Now, flight is when our amygdala perceives a threat, doesn't know what to do with it, so moves on. Next up, we've got freeze. Now, freeze is the physiological response where it's when our amygdala decides to just do nothing, to play dead. It's basically what we often have as stage fright. Did you know that it's statistically correct that most people are more scared of public speaking than they are of death? So yes, thank you. I am very brave. No, I've never actually been that scared of public speaking because, no, that drive for validation is just too strong. No, ever since I was a kid, I was desperate for that validation. But I don't get it when I'm public speaking, but I do get freeze in other situations, like when I was first ever fired from a job, right? I was just out of university back in 2008. Yes, I was a child labourer. Not a big enough reaction, but thank you. No, I was working for the world's biggest magazine publishing company. Magazines, eh? Remember them? Oh, what a lucrative career I was hopping on board with just before one of the world's biggest recessions. So I was called into HR one Friday afternoon and was told that was your last day, you are now fired. And I suddenly went into freeze. I packed my stuff into a little box, you know, those boxes you get when you leave a corporate job. And I was escorted from the building by security. Clearly one of those faces. And I stood outside that building for I don't know how long, right? I was clutching that cardboard box with, I'll be honest, I've been there for 6 months. That box just had a stapler and a Beanie Baby that had a sign that was holding that said, congrats on your new job. Now, I was standing outside there in freeze for so long that even I grew a beard. That's how long it was. And I have no recollection of how I got from that building to King's Cross, no recollection of how I got onto this train back to where I was living at the time, which was Cambridge, no recollection of how the 2 empty bottles of Prosecco ended up in my hands. But I do remember this girl sitting opposite me, about my age, and going, "Oh my goodness, Juliet Burton, is that you? We went to primary school together." And she was absolutely correct. Guys, it was Felicity Horseradish, heiress to the Horseradish estate. Obviously, I've changed her name for anonymity as well. Her name wasn't Felicity Horseradish, it was Phoebe Piccalilli. So Phoebe, Felicity, whatever, sat there and goes, "Oh, Juliet Burton, we haven't seen each other for 10 whole years. How have you been, darling?" And I went, "Well, Felicity, since I last saw you, things have been a bit rough. In my teenage years, I was actually sectioned under the Mental Health Act I was sectioned under the Mental Health Act age 17, spent my 18th birthday in a psychiatric hospital. But then again, a lot of people spend their 18th birthday drunk under a table in Wetherspoons. I actually think I had the better venue. Yeah, Felicity, spent my 18th birthday in a psychiatric ward, but as far as parties or clubs go, for a birthday, that is fairly exclusive, isn't it? I mean, if your name's not down, you are not coming in. And if your name is down, you are not going out." Yes, Felicity, I've been sectioned under the Mental Health Act, diagnosed with 15 different mental health conditions, been in therapy for over 20 years. I'm what psychiatrists call a bit much. Felicity, diagnosed with 15 mental illnesses. Here we go. I've been diagnosed with anorexia, anxiety disorder, bipolar disorder, body dysmorphic disorder, bulimia, compulsive overeating disorder, depression, obsessive compulsive disorder. Yes, Felicity, that is the reason why this list is organised alphabetically. Thank you for noticing, my fellow neurodivergent. Yes, Felicity, also, I've been diagnosed with paranoia, agoraphobia, dissociative identity disorder, complex post-traumatic disorder. So many different things, Felicity. And I've been performing comedy recently, started doing that, and I've been enjoying it. Lots of people come up to me and say some pretty stigmatising things, though, like, you can't be ill, you don't look ill. Well, you don't look rude, but here we are. Had people come up to me and say, "Oh, your illnesses sound awful. Do you blame your parents?" No, I do not blame my parents, okay? I blame the Tories. Which is a nickname I've given to my parents. No, I don't blame anybody for my mental health conditions, because that robs me of my autonomy and of my empowerment. I think that everything in life is a two-way street. Right, Brighton? Apart from the Tories, I understand. And also, even this gig is a two-way street, so if you're not enjoying it, it's not entirely my fault. I've also had people say, "Oh, well, you're very brave to talk so openly about mental health conditions on stage." No, okay, I know they're trying to be friendly and complimenting, but no, there's nothing to be scared of. We all have mental health, just like we all have physical health, so fuck off. Okay, so you might call it brave to talk about. I call it normal. My friends call it repetitive. My therapist calls it lucrative. I have been in therapy for a very long time. The most important thing I've learned in therapy is that all therapists have one of two voices. Evidence, okay? Either they talk like this, in a really low, calming, I assume it's supposed to be calming kind of a voice. "How does that make you feel, Juliet? How does your relationship with your father make you feel? How are you feeling right now?" Horny, I feel horny right now. I don't think that's appropriate in therapy. Or the other voice that therapists tend to have is this kind of high-pitched, kind of squeaky, kind of faux intellectual voice. Almost like they're slurring their words a little bit, as if they're almost a tiny bit drunk, which is... Some of the people at the back have seen this kind of therapist. They sound a little bit drunk, which is very disconcerting, because I saw a therapist for 10 whole years who had this actual voice, and I happen to know she was in AA. So basically what I'm trying to say is that all therapists either sound like phone sex line workers or Zippy from Rainbow. By the way, it's very hard to stay depressed if you're talking to somebody who has this kind of a voice. But don't worry, guys, I managed it because I'm a pro. Yes, Felicity, been through some rough teenage years, but you know what? I did get through it and I eventually got a job. I know, no A-levels. How did I get a job? Turns out nobody cares about A-levels if you want to be a journalist. So I got a job, a proper job, but I've just been fired. And Felicity was now the one in freeze. Until we got to the next stop on the train. Pretty sure it wasn't her stop, but she got off. And that's an excellent example of the flight response. Okay. Now, the next one is the fawn response. Now, fawn is when the amygdala perceives a threat and decides... Well, it's really different, actually. So if there's a threat, like a bomb, you know, like in the Barbie movie. So if there's a bomb, you've got some choices of how you deal with it. Like, you could defuse the bomb. That would be fight, right? You could run away from the bomb. That would be flight. You could lie down and pray for the sweet, sweet release of death. Not as much of a laugh as I was expecting, but Burton-upon-Trent loved that. So that would be freeze. And in Fawn's case, it would be trying desperately to make the bomb love you so that it wouldn't explode in your face. I'm starting to think the bomb was the wrong analogy. Now, fawn is what we use when the threat is a person, okay? So it's people-pleasing, it's breaking all our boundaries, it's desperately trying to win people over to make them like us so they are no longer a threat. Now, for me, I think that fawn is definitely my favourite. It's also the trendiest, you know, it's the one that most people haven't heard of. So it's like, oh, everyone else in Japan is all using fawn. You're losing fight or flight? That is so 2003. So I love using fawn. Fawn is a great way of dealing with things. Now, I particularly use fawn when it comes to food. Now, I have had eating disorders, which means that food has felt like a threat in the past. So I have desperately tried to win waiters over. They'll come over and say, what would you like today? And I say, well, I'm struggling to decide. I'm really struggling because I'm actually quite nervous. I'm in recovery from anorexia and bulimia and compulsive overeating disorder. But you see, I've actually been a size 4 and a size 20 due to anorexia and binge eating disorder. I know I've got a lot of loose skin. Look! And I'll get all my loose skin out. And it's on my arms, it's on my tummy, on my legs, on my breasts. He's getting dinner and a show. And I'm like, look at this. I'm like a stretch Armstrong or like a bullfrog or a deflated balloon. And if that's the case, I'd like to know where they blew into to inflate me in the first place. Because that sounds like fun. I'd quite like to do it again sometime. Just gonna let that. That's for the debauched among you. So yeah, I'm really keen to feel a bit more recovered from my eating disorders, you know, and I have expanded and contracted a lot more times than even the British Empire, and just like the British Empire, me and my eating disorders have a lot of shame and guilt to work through. So yeah, by this point the waiter has left. Not just my table, his job. And that's another excellent example of the flight response.